Hi, welcome to the Louie File. Today we have a guest with us. His name is Travis, and he's going to share just briefly about his testimony and how he came to know Jesus Christ. So I'm just going to ask Travis, just briefly, what was your life like prior to coming to know Jesus Christ?
Well, growing up, I wasn't ever raised in church. I didn't have the solid foundation that a lot of people are fortunate to have. God wasn't spoken of much in my home, and growing up, I experienced 3 divorces with my mother and father, and that messed my thinking up as a kid. I didn't know which way to go, and so I played a lot of sports, and that kind of helped take my mind off things. And then I discovered huffing gas at a young age, and that helped me escape reality. And that carried on up into middle school, and then when I got into middle school, I discovered, drinking alcohol, and then that dipped into drugs. And by the time I'm 16, 17 years old, junior in high school, I'm a full-blown crack addict. And I ended up spending a little time in a juvenile facility at 17 years old, going in between my junior and senior year, and that kind of made me have a reality check, but it wasn't enough, because I kept going. I was hard-headed. I was lost. I was hopeless, and I honestly remember believing that I was going to die a drug addict. And but during that time period of me getting incarcerated, not too long after I got incarcerated, I went to a church service. I heard an evangelist preach, and he had been through the same things that I had been through, similar. And it was the first time I'd ever heard the gospel of Jesus Christ preached. He preached a 2-week revival, and during that 2-week revival, I knew he had something that I didn't have, and I'd done had everything in the entire world that was accessible that my means could get me, and I felt empty. And I knew he had something I didn't have, and I wanted what he had, and that was Jesus Christ. So at that time period, I believed what he said to be true. Within my heart, I accepted that, and I remember the day. It was September the 20th of 2005. I'll never forget it. I was alone in my bedroom, and when I said, "God, if you're real, you show it to me. I believe you. I believe you." And from that day forward, I noticed a heart transformation that changed the way I viewed life. I felt this overwhelming burden come off of me. No more feeling hopeless. The desperation wasn't there. But then, after that, I started going to church here and there, and that all lasted about 2 years. And then I ended up getting drugged back. I ended up getting drugged back to the world, and I went back to drugs. But this time the drugs and the alcohol and the lifestyle didn't sit well with me like it did before. There was something different. I couldn't enjoy it the way I used to. It couldn't bring me the satisfaction that it used to. And so for another 2 to 3 years, I ended up using drugs again, and ended up going in and out of jail, and I spent a little time in prison, and that changed me. That was my final reality check. Since then, since I got out of jail, all my incarceration was over, I have now been drug-free and alcohol-free for 6 years. I haven't been drunk or high in 6 years.
All right.
And I don't have the desire to go back. Is not there. I'm not saying I'm above it, but I'm saying I probably will never go back to that. I feel that God has truly delivered me. He has set me free. And today I currently have peace that I couldn't get from the world. I have purpose. I have meaning. I have determination. I have destiny now. These things weren't available to me years and years ago, when I was wandering around, going this direction, going that direction, looking for hope and peace in these things and in these other things. I now have truly found what I was always been looking for, and it's in Jesus Christ. and that's the only place. Because I've tried studying different religions. I've tried psychology. I've tried self-help. I've tried a lot of different things. But the only satisfaction, true, genuine, lasting satisfaction that I've found is in Christ. And based on my experience, that's where I stand. Today I now have, like I said, I have peace, I have understanding, I have meaning, but not only that, I have a beautiful wife, I have a son, I have a great job, I have vehicles. I mean, all these are earthly things, but these things didn't come till after the fact for me. And you know, people, we can say that, yeah, well, people who don't believe there's God have all these things. Yes, that's true. But at one time, I was living on the street because I chose to do the things I do or did. But now God has fully restored. He gave me more than what I ever lost. And due to that, that's what he due to those things, Him making Himself real to me, has shown me that He can make Himself real to anybody. If He can get through to me, He can get through to anybody. And that's the best. That's a short, condensed version of my testimony to the best of my ability. I don't know how
That's awesome. I heard one time somebody say that the gospel message is one beggar showing another beggar where they can find bread.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that pretty much sums it up, because we're all in the same boat when it comes to that. We all are in the need of the same bread.
Right, right.
So when you get a hold of that bread that does satisfy, Jesus even said, don't labor for how did He say it? He said, don't labor for bread that, I can't remember how He worded it now, but basically He was saying, don't put all your back and energy and effort into things that are temporal. Right. You know, bread that's going to spoil or go, you know, temporal, earthly bread, you know.
And that's what I did, you know, that's where my drive and my passion was for this world. Yeah. It's for the sensual satisfaction that the world gives. And at the end of the night, when I lay my head down, and you know, and when the lights are off and it's just me and my thoughts alone, I knew I'm missing something. Yeah. There's got to be more than just what I'm doing here. Yeah. There's got to be more than getting on the end of a crack pipe or snorting a line up my nose or at the end of the last drop of a bottle. I knew there had to be something more.
That's right.
And you know, a lot of people have been through that. I mean, you've been down that road, those roads
things.
yourself.
Yeah. I think those things are those. You know, the enemy can only imitate and pervert what God has, and if He can keep us distracted with drinking and drugs and sex and money, if He can keep us chasing all those things, then He's thinking that we're never going to run into the real thing.
Right.
But we are going to run into the real thing if we. I've often thought that a lot of people haven't gone far enough into the darkness.
Right.
I mean, it's like, I'm not advocating that you go further into the darkness, but I do believe that the one that has been forgiven much loves much.
Yes,
and all of us have been forgiven a lot, but addicts, people that's been in and out of jail and divorce court, and people that have been in homeless shelters, a lot of times I've discovered those people, when Christ moves in, I heard someone say one time that they get saved all over.
Right.
They're not just in their head or in their, you know, I mean, because they really, really, truly know that their way can't work.
And when you go that low, when you go to that rock bottom, when you get to the point, you know, I don't know if you've ever wanted to kill yourself, but I've been to that point. And when you reach that point, and then in the depths of your being, you call out on the name Christ, Jesus, help me, and He steps in and He helps. Then there's no denying it. From then the dispute is over. It's over. It's settled.
You're convinced.
You're convinced. It's settled. And then from then on, change comes, growth comes, you know, maturity comes, understanding comes, and it's impossible. I believe it's impossible to know the God of the universe and not be changed. I just believe.
Well, I like how you said that the drug thing kind of came back. You kind of went back to it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us have to do that, I think, because we have to be convinced. Like I said, we really have to be truly convinced our way doesn't work.
Right.
And we thought, well, maybe it'll work this time. So we give it another try.
Right.
And then we're finally truly convinced.
And see, I used to look at it as like, somebody once told me, if you ever watch a bucket of crabs, you can set a bucket of crabs. This is what they say. I've never done it, but they say you can set a bucket of crabs on the ground, and no crab will get on the ground, because as soon as one makes it to the top, the other ones reach up and pull him back down to where he can't get out. So nobody said, it's like, if you ain't getting out, if I can't get out, you ain't gonna get out.
Yeah.
So to me, what I thought was I surrounded myself with those former influences, and they gradually pulled me back. But then once I got that last incarceration, that changed me. That put the nail in the coffin for me, and I haven't been back since. And that was almost 7 years ago.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks, you heard it right there, straight from his own mouth, that Jesus Christ can give you what nothing else can, and we're both sitting here as living proof. I would just say that just like the Word tells us that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Yes. So I would tell you, His name is Jesus, and if you call on Him, He will rescue you.
Yes.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Louie File.